Today I'm going to go over briefly what the greatest common factor is, and then we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of factoring a trinomial. So the greatest common factor, simply put, is just the largest number that can be divided into two or more numbers or into an equation. So for this example, 4, 8, and 16, 1 can be divided into that, 2 can be divided into each of these, and 4 can also be divided into each of these. The greatest common factor for 8, 4, and 16 is going to be 4. It is 2t to the third power plus 8t squared plus 6t. So in order to factor down this equation, you're going to want to find the greatest common factor, because you can't go anywhere from here until you do that. So you're going to look at your whole numbers first, 2, 8, and 6. So we know that 1 and 2 can be divided into each of these numbers. So the greatest common factor is going to be 2. Looking at your variables and your exponents, you have t to the third power, t squared, and t. So t is going to be your greatest common factor. So 2t is the greatest common factor of this equation. So now we're going to put the rest of the equation in here. 2t times t squared equals 2t to the third power. This part is going to be 2t times 4t will equal 8t squared. And lastly, 2t times 3 is going to equal 6t. So now we can factor the equation with a coefficient of 1. I'm going to go ahead and write that 1 right there, okay? And what I'm going to do to factor that further is I'm going to multiply that 1 times the last number of the equation, which is the 3. So now we have 3. Now we know what number we need to use to find the two numbers that are going to be both equal 3, the product, in a multiplication form, and 4, the sum, okay? And that is going to be 1 and 3. So now that we have those two numbers, I'm going to drop down my 2t, and I'm going to put 2 parentheses sets down. So I'm taking my my t squared, I'm dropping down one of those t's here and the other here, and then I'm going to take that first number 1, so t plus 1, and t plus 3. So now we can stop here at this point in the equation, because this is the simplest factored form of this equation. But you're going to want to check your work, and you do that using the FOIL method. And I'm just going to use this example because my pen's run out now. First, outside, inside, last, okay? So you're taking this, your answer, and now you are checking it. So I'm going to take my first, t times t is going to equal t squared, okay? And then my outside, t times 3 is going to equal 3t plus 3t. Then my inside, 1 times t is going to equal t, or 1t. So you see how I put that there, 1t. And then lastly, t times 3 is going to equal, 1 times 3 is going to equal 3. So now I'm going to simplify that by combining like terms. So the 3t and the 1t, I'm going to add that to get 4t. So now we've combined like terms. And now I can use the distributive property to see if this is going to equal this equation up here. So 2t times t squared equals 2t to the third power. Okay. 2t times 4t equals 8t squared. Okay, they match. And lastly, 2t times 3 equals 6t.